Thank you so much, James. And here we are on the January 29th edition of the Coaches Show. We've got a whole lot of sports to talk about, so let's get right into it. Starting with women's basketball, Tuesday they lost versus Marshall in a real good game. They had the lead for a good portion of the game. In fact, I'd go so far as to say a majority of the game, but Marshall had a huge run in the third quarter, outscoring the Lady Cats 18-3 to propel themselves to a 48-41 win over the Lady Cats basketball team. And last night, they were in Pine Tree taking on the Lady Pirates. Moving over to the men's basketball team, joining us today is Coach Brandon Shaver, and we'll be talking more about them in a little bit, but they won at Marshall on Tuesday, 58-47, and last night at home, routed Pine Tree, 82-47, and they have a bye on Tuesday, same with the women's basketball team, but next Friday, both squads playing Hallsville. The men's basketball team in Hallsville at Bobcat Coliseum, always a tough place to play. Moving over to soccer, Wildcat soccer on Tuesday, crushed, demolished, decimated North Lamar, whatever adjective you can think of. They beat them 13-0, and 8 different Wildcats got in on the scoring, with 2 finishing with hat tricks. Edgar Salazar and Osvaldo Ariano, and Uriel Santa Cruz finished with 2 goals, so a big night for Wildcat soccer. However, last night was not as great of a night as they lost to Longview 3-0. That was in Longview to the Lobos. And next up, they are in Mount Pleasant on Tuesday. And then moving over to the women's soccer team, on Tuesday they won versus North Lamar at Gerald Prim Stadium 3-0, all 3 goals in the first half, the first 2 courtesy of Anna Williams. And Friday last night at Gerald Prim Stadium, they opened district play and lost versus Longview 2-0. They managed to hold them to a clean sheet, both teams at 0-0 at halftime, but in the first 10 minutes of the second half, Longview able to get the go-ahead goal and then put the icing on the top late in the game to go up 2-0 and get the win over Sulphur Springs. So both soccer teams start district play 0-1. Not the beginning, I'm sure, that they envisioned, but still 11 more games to go, so nothing to hang your head on. And a good Longview squad, no doubt. But speaking of Mount Pleasant, both powerlifting squads are in Mount Pleasant today, and then moving over to next week, softball gets their season underway on Tuesday in their first scrimmage. They host Gilmer at Lady Cat Park at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, February 1st. And lots of sports going on here in Sulphur Springs. The week after that, you have golf starting up, both golf teams, and baseball. So whole lot of action here. You kind of have your pick of the litter as to which sport you want to go attend to, but lots of action here in Sulphur Springs. But when we return from a commercial break, we'll be talking with Wildcats basketball coach Brandon Shaver about all things men's basketball. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here on Saturday, January 29th. Before we went to commercial, I did a regurgitation of all things sports information here in Sulphur Springs. Lots of teams going on. But joining us today is Coach Brandon Shaver, head coach for the men's basketball team. Coach, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate me having me on.
Last night you got to play your old gig in Pine Tree and got a big win at home.
Yeah, it's big. It's still a little bit emotional because when you pour into your program and love kids the way that we do, it's always tough. But at the end of the day, it's a great win for us to kind of get us into the next 3 games in district.
And your team jumped out to a huge 19-2 lead early. What worked well for y'all that allowed your team to get a comfortable lead early?
I think we came out very strong defensively. We try to pride ourselves on the defensive end, and so when we always talk, it turns defense into offense, and I think that happened throughout the whole game. We were able to get some fast break layups, some dunks on the fast break side, and then also get out in transition off of steals or missed shots from them. So again, we want to play with pace and space and get out there and put some points up. So I think it worked pretty well for us to start the game.
You talk about pace and space, and so much this season I've enjoyed watching one of your players get a rebound, whether it be Courtney Turner or whoever, and then you look up, or I look up, and then just as quickly Parker Wisenhunt's at midcourt going for a fast break opportunity.
Right, and that's, we practice that a lot. We want to get out. We get out and run, get out and put pressure on their defense to get back. Whether it's, we get out with a layup or we get out with a dunk, or we have to pull it back out and get into our offense, but it gives them – it'll tire them out because they have to get back every single time, and if not, then we're within 2 or 3 seconds. Then we're putting up layups, or we clipped a couple times where the ball maybe touched the ground once or twice, and we're either getting a great layup or a great look, and that's just that's the type of offense that we want to run.
And so many times this season, especially when your team is up big, you see the opposing team in any sport, once you get down, your whole strategy changes. Then you gotta try and get put up shots that perhaps you wouldn't have taken early, and it just really forces the team into a bind.
Right, and that's it. If we go out and play our game and play with the pace that we want to, you take everybody out of their rhythm. And so that's what we want. That's the reason why we play it that way. And then to play as hard as we do on the defensive side, taking you out of we want to keep you on the side of the ball. Want to make sure. And I know a lot of people, they're like, well, what do you run? And it's like, well, it's man. They're like, it's not a typical man. It's like, no, it's not. It's a little different. And so, but at the same time, it allows us to force people to shoot the shots we want them to take, not the shots they want to take. And so it's worked pretty well for us the entire season.
And with the past few years, a lot of it thanks to the Golden State Warriors, you see a lot more small ball these days, and to force teams to kind of put up shots they wouldn't like to take, especially in the small ball era, your team can really get ahead if they miss a couple shots and you get a couple of good looks in transition.
Right, and that's with us. Not very many kids practice the mid-range game, and so that's what we want you to shoot. And that 10 to 15-foot shot that's contested, and because kids are either in there trying to dunk or shoot layups, or they're out here shooting threes. And so we kind of tailored our defense to say, hey, we want you to take the shots that you don't practice. And that's that. When we're on our game defensively, just like we started the game, I think it was 19-2 yesterday. They were taking those type shots, and then we were getting the rebound, and we were able to get out quick. And so again, it's the work on the defensive side that allows us to get out and do what we want to do on the offensive side.
And offense so important, whether it be football, basketball, whatever. But the tried and true saying, defense wins championships.
That's right, for sure, and that's what we told. That's what we preached from day one.
And your squad is now 7-1 at home, and we talked previously about how winning at home is important, especially more so as the district standings come down to the wire between Sulphur Springs, Mount Pleasant, Hallsville, and a pesky Longview team. And we talked about it before this coach's show got underway. Women's basketball in 5th place, just 2 games behind Hallsville. So really, all coming down to the wire. Every game is important.
Absolutely, and what we've been preaching is the next game is the most important game, no matter what it is. And like we were going in last night, you never want to overlook an opponent, especially in our district. How competitive our district is. At any given night, anybody can be beat, and so that was our mindset going in. And we looked at it when we started the second round of district. We said, look, if we come out and compete every single night, we can take care of what we need to, and if we do that, then we should be able to come out with the results that we want to. But we don't really teach or really preach the results. We're just trying to tell them to get better every time we step on the floor. And I think we've done that as the season has gone on. With the way the Mount Pleasant game ended, obviously was a very big disappointment. But at the same time, you look back and go, it could be a very good turning point in our season. Average teams, I think, and below average teams take those losses, and then all of a sudden they either plateau or they start going down. And our guys were, the next morning they're at Sunrise shooting at 6:45, every one of them. And so, and they just realize, and that's the mindset. We bring in a guy, Coach Carr, that works with the sports psychology side, the mental side of the game, and I think it's huge that our team has really bought into that. We're able to teach them a side that we want them to be stronger at, but a lot of coaches and stuff don't know how to do that. And so for us to be able to bring in a guy that knows it, that loves it, and then our guys have bought into, I think it's got us victories, especially now as we start into the second half of district.
Absolutely, and that Mount Pleasant loss you were talking about, a tough one in which the Tigers were able to come back and get the victory. But talking about sports psychology and just the mental health aspect of it, I mean, it was bad enough that I was in college and had to finish out my collegiate career starting the pandemic, but these kids, some of them, their high school career, all they've known is the pandemic. So add that, losses, and just anything else that comes into it, and I think that's a really good thing to have for your squad. Yeah,
and that's just like you said, it's not only just sports, it's life. And that's what he was talking about on that Friday afterwards was like, when things happen in life, a lot of times we get into a zone or we see it just in a small frame of things. and there's not enough time that has gone by to know if that's a good or bad thing. Because good things that we think in the time could also turn into bad things over time. And so, for us, he really was hitting on that where maybe it looked like a bad thing at that moment, but when we step back and look at the end of the season, we can say, hey, that was a turning point for us. That, maybe, it got us all together. It tied us all in. Everybody came in. Everybody's been locked in practice. Things like that where you never wanted a loss, but if that loss helps us to turn around and win a district championship or even not just a district championship, but get us into the third, fourth, fifth round of the playoffs, then yeah, that's a great thing. At the time it doesn't look good, but at the end, when you look back in a perspective things, you can say that was the turning point of what we needed.
And one could definitely argue that Mount Pleasant loss, something of a turning point for your squad. You were talking about how some teams can plateau, dip, but your team reeled off 3 straight wins now.
Yeah, and again, it's a testament to those guys. They're coming out, they're working hard, they're showing up every day. Even on weekends, they're, hey, coach, can we get in the gym still? And so, it's just awesome that these guys love the game, and it makes it a lot easier on us. So we're able to do some things, some different things that will put pressure on those guys when we make adjustments and things because they just love being in the gym. They got high basketball IQ, so it's a great thing to coach and a fun thing to coach a team like this.
And we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we'll be back with Coach Shaver. Welcome back to the Coaches Show, joined today by Wildcats basketball coach Brendan Shaver. We talked the win last night over Pine Tree at home, the 3rd straight district win at home for men's basketball, and also talked about how the Mount Pleasant loss has been something of a turning point for your squad as last Friday got a win at Texas High, 58-47. Tuesday winning at Marshall, never an easy place to play, 58-47, and last night getting a big rout at home versus Pine Tree. Not to mention some good wins earlier in the month, and your team is in second place due to the Tigers having a bye last night.
Right. Like we were talking about before, I mean, this district is so competitive. And everybody at the end of this is now playing each other. And so the guys that are up top, things can change a lot in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And after falling to Mount Pleasant and Hallsville, your team has gone on a 3-game winning streak, winning at Marshall, beating your old Pine Tree squad, and completing the season sweep of the Pirates. But, Coach, you and your team have a tough challenge ahead of you next Friday after your bye Tuesday, where you and your squad will be at Hallsville, first-place team in District 15 5A. If Hallsville wins, they can create some distance between them and the rest of the pack. But if your squad wins, your team has a chance to thwart their district championship hopes.
Right, and that's we've talked about it, but I've tried to not let them think too much about it because we had the Pine Tree game last night. And what we're trying to do now is just, again, every time we step on the floor, let them know, whether it's practice, sunrise shooting, or anything, to get better and to understand that it's just a process. And I think when we get into that Hallsville game, we were talking about before, I think the first time we played Hallsville was one of our worst, or was the worst offensive performance that we've had all year. We played 30-plus games, and so hopefully we're able to come out better. And I know it's a tough place to play, but at the same time, I think our kids are prepared. They've been in battles all year. Playing the number 3 team in 6A and taking those guys to double overtime. It's one where we're not. I don't think we're going to back down from this one just thinking that it's a big game. I think it's one that we're going to be up for, and I think and hope the community is able to come out. I know it's a drive, but it'd be awesome to have our community out there to support us in the big game on Friday night.
Yeah, no doubt. But worth mentioning that the Lady Cats, as we previously talked about, they're going to be fighting for that final playoff spot. They're 5th place, 2 games behind Hallsville, but they're going to be at home versus Hallsville, and the winner of that game conceivably gets that 4th playoff spot. So just like we're talking about, every game matters with district.
It does, and that's the fun part. It's for us, it gets us prepared for playoffs too. Because you want to make sure that you never take anybody lightly, and that's definitely happened in our district this year. That I think we're one of the best districts in Texas just because of from top down. There's no off night, and so you've got to come out and you've got to be prepared and you've got to execute, and that's exactly what you've got to do every Tuesday and Friday when you come out in playoffs. So it just gets us prepared for the future.
Coach, anything else you'd like to add?
Just excited. This has been a great first season so far. I think the kids have been awesome. The culture that we're building is awesome. Love the fan support. It was a packed house again last night. And we just appreciate everybody that does come out and that's coming out and supporting us. But Friday's going to be a big one. Like I said, I really love the community to come out and be able to do what they can do. Again, it'd be fun to have a loud cheering crowd on the away game. But we're excited. We're excited for the next 2 weeks to see how it plays out, and we're just ready to go.
Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So both of these basketball districts, both men and women's, really coming down to the wire late. Women's basketball, just 2 games left on their schedule. Men have 4 left, and no doubt going to be an exciting 2 weeks for both basketball programs. But that'll do it for us here at the Coaches Show on January 29th. I'm Sports Director Ross Levinsky. Shooting video for us is Doug Haston, and our station manager, James Terry, making everything you hear possible. Thanks so much for joining us, y'all.